She stands in the doorway of her own bedroom, clothes on the floor, papers on the desk, a coffee cup from 3 days ago, and she cannot move. Not because she's lazy, not because she doesn't care, because somewhere inside her, a signal is firing that says, this is too much. This is unsafe. This is out of control. Now picture someone else. The moment her world starts spinning, she doesn't reach for a friend. She doesn't reach for a drink. She reaches for a drawer. She empties it. She refolds every shirt. And within minutes, something in her chest unclenches. Two people. Two opposite reactions to the exact same kind of mess. And yet, both of them are being driven by the same hidden system in the brain. A system that has almost nothing to do with cleanliness and almost everything to do with survival. By the end of this, you're going to understand why your relationship with your physical space might be the clearest window into your deepest emotional wound. You're going to understand why some people cry while decluttering a closet, why a messy kitchen can quietly wreck someone's entire evening, and why the version of you that finally stops needing everything to be perfect might also be the version of you that finally feels free. Stay with this, because what looks like a conversation about tidying is actually a conversation about who you had to become to survive your own life. Let's start where it always starts, not in your closet, in your childhood. The human brain is not built to tolerate unpredictability. It is built to hunt for patterns, because patterns mean safety. A child raised in a home where love arrived on a schedule, where meals were consistent, where a parent's mood didn't shift like weather, that child's nervous system learns something powerful. The world can be trusted to hold still. But a child raised differently learns something else entirely. A child who watched a parent's temper rise without warning. A child who never knew which version of mom would walk through the door. A child who had to read a room before they could even speak in it. That child's brain doesn't get the luxury of trusting the world to hold still, so it builds its own stillness instead. This is where the compulsion to organize is actually born. Not in adulthood, not in a design magazine. In a child's bedroom, where the only thing that could be controlled was the toy box. Where lining up the crayons by color was the one corner of existence that obeyed the rules. That child grows up. The chaos changes shape. It's no longer a parent's mood. It's a boss's email, a partner's silence, a bank account, a diagnosis, a breakup. But the nervous system still remembers its original coping mechanism. When the outside world refuses to behave, control the part of the world you can reach. This is why a grown woman can come home from a devastating meeting, walk straight past her exhausted body's need to rest, and start reorganizing her pantry at 11 at night. She is not procrastinating on sleep. She is regulating her nervous system in the only language it learned early enough to trust. Order the shelf. Order the mind. It's not random. It's not a personality quirk. It is a survival strategy still running decades after the danger that created it has already passed. And here's the part that stings a little. Many people who compulsively organize were never taught how to calm themselves through connection. Nobody sat with them and said, I see that you're overwhelmed. Let's talk about it. So instead, they learned to sit with a spice rack and say, I see that you're overwhelmed. Let's alphabetize it. It works. It genuinely works in the moment. But it also means the emotion underneath it never actually gets spoken to. It gets folded away, literally. There's a particular kind of person who can tell you exactly how a difficult week went by describing the state of their apartment during it. Week 1, everything is spotless. Week 2, dishes start to pile. Week 3, the floor disappears under laundry. Ask them how they're doing, and they'll say fine. Ask them what their bedroom looks like right now, and suddenly the truth comes out sideways, through a description of chaos they didn't consciously choose to create. Their space became the diary they never wrote. Their space said what their mouth couldn't. This is worth sitting with for a moment, because it reframes something people are usually ashamed of. A messy home during a hard season isn't proof of failure. It's often proof of exactly how much a person is carrying, silently, without complaint. The mess isn't the problem. The mess is the evidence. And evidence deserves compassion, not judgment. So if organizing has always felt like your emotional home base, ask yourself something uncomfortable. Are you tidying the room, Or are you avoiding the conversation the room was supposed to give you space to have? But there's something else happening here, something written directly into your biology. And it explains why even people without a chaotic childhood still feel that hit of relief after cleaning a single counter. Here's the mechanism. Every time you complete a small physical task, your brain releases a hit of dopamine. Not a huge flood, a small, quiet reward. The kind that says, well done, task complete, you are capable. This is the exact same circuitry that rewards you for checking a box on a to-do list, or finishing a workout, or hitting send on an email you've been avoiding. Your brain does not care whether the task was folding a towel or closing a business deal. Completion is completion. Reward is reward. Now think about how rare that feeling has become in modern life. You can work an entire 8-hour day and still go to bed without a single clean sense of, that is finished. Projects stretch across weeks. Emails multiply while you sleep. Relationships have no finish line. Grief has no finish line. But a countertop? A countertop has a finish line. You wipe it and it is done. Fully, completely, undeniably done. In a life full of ongoing, unresolved, open-ended stress, a clean counter might be the only completed thing you touch all day. At the same time, something else is happening in your bloodstream. Visual clutter has been shown to elevate cortisol, your primary stress hormone. Your eyes are constantly, unconsciously scanning your environment for threat. And an overflowing sink or a chair buried under laundry doesn't just sit there neutrally. It registers, quietly, as unfinished business. Dozens of small, unresolved signals, all firing at once, all whispering the same message. Something here needs your attention, and you haven't given it yet. Now picture a man who spent his entire workday being interrupted. Every task he started, someone needed something before he could finish it. By 6 p.m, he walks into his apartment feeling frayed, scattered, like his own mind has been chopped into pieces. He doesn't understand why cleaning his kitchen for 15 minutes makes him feel like himself again. It's not the kitchen. It's the completion. It's the dopamine. It's the drop in cortisol as the visual noise quiets down. His biology is handing him back a piece of the control that his job spent all day taking away. This is why people insist that cleaning is meditative. It's not a metaphor. Repetitive physical motion, folding, sweeping, wiping, gives the mind a rhythm to hold on to, the same way a mantra does. Thought slows down, breath slows down. For a few minutes, there is nowhere else to be and nothing else to solve. Just this surface, and this cloth, and this motion. But here's the twist nobody talks about. If your nervous system relies on this too heavily, if a clean space becomes the only place you feel calm, then a messy space stops being just inconvenient. It starts to feel dangerous. And that's a very different relationship to have with your own living room, which brings us somewhere darker, somewhere almost nobody names out loud. For a certain kind of person, clutter isn't background noise. It's an alarm that never turns off. If you are someone who feels emotions with unusual intensity, who absorbs the mood of a room the second you walk into it, who notices the smallest shift in someone's tone of voice, then you are almost certainly someone whose nervous system treats visual chaos the exact same way it treats emotional chaos. Loud, overstimulating, impossible to ignore. Picture a couple. One partner can sit in a cluttered living room and barely register it. Newspapers on the couch, shoes by the door, it simply doesn't register as urgent. The other partner walks in, and within seconds, their chest tightens. They can't focus on a conversation. They can't relax into the evening. Their partner thinks they're being controlling or uptight or dramatic. But what's actually happening is neurological. That mess isn't just visual information anymore. It has become a low, constant hum of unfinished business, 100 tiny voices whispering, "Deal with me, deal with me, deal with me," all at once. For someone whose nervous system is already working overtime just to process a normal day, that hum becomes unbearable. This is why highly sensitive people so often describe order as oxygen. Not preference, not perfectionism, oxygen. Because their baseline stimulation is already higher than most people's. A cluttered space doesn't add a little stress on top of an empty tank. It adds stress on top of a tank that was already nearly full from simply existing in a loud, bright, overstimulating world all day. And this explains something people rarely connect. Why some individuals need total, immediate order the second they walk through the door before they can even take off their shoes. It's not about aesthetics. It's about needing 1 square foot of the world to finally stop shouting at them. So if you've ever been told you're too sensitive about your space, understand this. You are not overreacting to a mess. You are reacting accurately to sensory overload that other people simply do not carry in their bodies the way you do. There's a reason this kind of person often needs a moment alone the second they walk through the door, before they can greet anyone, before they can answer a single question. It looks, from the outside, like coldness. It isn't. It's triage. Their nervous system needs 60 seconds to close the tabs that stayed open all day, the tone of a coworker's email, the tension in a friend's voice, the low static of a world that never stops asking for their attention. A cluttered entryway on top of that isn't a minor inconvenience. It's one more tab refusing to close. And the people who love them would do well to understand that a request for 5 quiet minutes and a clear counter isn't rejection. It's a nervous system asking gently to be allowed to come back online. But organizing isn't only about silencing alarms. For some people, it becomes something almost the opposite. It becomes a language of self-expression. And that changes everything about what your space actually means. Think about someone who arranges their bookshelf, not by size, but by feeling. The books that change them, placed where their eyes land first. Plants chosen not for how easy they are to keep alive, but for the exact color of green that makes a room feel like breathing. A single object on a shelf, worn and imperfect, kept not because it's useful, but because it holds a memory nobody else in the world would understand just by looking at it. This is not organizing. This is authorship. This is a person writing their inner world onto the walls of their outer one. For these people, a home isn't a container. It's a canvas. Every choice, where the lamp goes, which mug sits by the sink, is a small act of identity. When someone walks into their space and says, "This feels like you," that sentence lands somewhere deep, because it means the outside finally matches the inside. And there is a particular kind of relief in that, the relief of being legible, of not having to explain yourself, because your space already says it for you. Now picture a woman who spends her entire day being needed. A boss who wants answers, children who want attention, a partner who wants presence. By the time she's finally alone, something shifts. She doesn't reach for a screen. She reaches for a shelf that's slightly askew, and she straightens it, slowly, deliberately. In that 15 minutes, she isn't managing anyone else's needs. She isn't performing for anyone's approval. She is, for the first time all day, simply choosing. This stays. This goes. This belongs here now. It sounds small. It is not small. For a person who spends most of her life responding to other people's demands, choosing where a candle sits on a shelf might be the only decision all day that belongs entirely, uncontested to her. This is solitude with a purpose, not loneliness, not withdrawal. A quiet reclaiming of authorship over one's own small corner of the world. But here's where things get heavier. Because underneath the calm, underneath the self-expression, there is often something much harder happening. Something that explains why decluttering can suddenly, unexpectedly, make a person cry. Every object in your home carries a story, whether you meant it to or not. A sweater from a relationship that ended badly. A gift from a parent who has since passed. A jacket from a version of yourself that doesn't exist anymore. The one before the diagnosis, before the divorce, before the years that changed everything. When you pick up that item to decide whether it stays or goes, you are not making a decision about fabric. You are making a decision about a chapter of your own life. This is why people describe decluttering as exhausting in a way that has nothing to do with physical effort. Every item you release is a small negotiation with your own identity. Keeping it says, I'm not ready to let this part of my story close. Releasing it says, I don't need this anymore to know who I am. Both choices are valid, but neither one is neutral. And that's why a task that should take 20 minutes can stretch into 3 emotionally draining hours because you're not folding laundry. You're renegotiating your own history, one drawer at a time. Think of a man clearing out his late father's closet. Every shirt he touches is a memory. Every decision, keep or donate, feels like it's deciding how much of his father he's allowed to let go of. This isn't organizing. This is grief, wearing the disguise of a chore. And it explains why so many people avoid certain rooms, certain boxes, certain drawers for years. Not because they're lazy, because opening that drawer means opening something inside themselves they're not ready to face yet. So the next time you find yourself unexpectedly emotional while sorting through old belongings, don't rush past it. That heaviness is not a malfunction. It's your mind doing something profound. It's grieving a version of your life that is quietly, permanently becoming the past. There's a woman who kept a single pair of shoes for 6 years after a relationship ended. Not because she wore them. She never once put them on again. She kept them because getting rid of them felt like admitting the relationship was truly, finally over, and some part of her wasn't ready to sign that final page. When she finally donated them, she didn't feel lighter right away. She felt hollow. Then, slowly, over the following weeks, the hollowness turned into something quieter. Room. Space. The sense that she had finally made room in her own life for whatever was supposed to come next. That is what letting go of an object can actually cost, and what it can actually give back. It is rarely simple. It is rarely just decluttering. It is often the closing of a door that words alone were never going to close. And this brings us to the part that changes how you'll see every messy room and every clean one for the rest of your life. Your environment is never just your environment. It is a running commentary on how you feel about yourself. A space that feels cared for sends your nervous system a quiet, constant message. You are worth the effort of being taken care of. A space that has been neglected for weeks, buried under things you haven't had the energy to face, sends a different message, whether you intend it to or not. It whispers, I don't have the capacity for myself right now. And your mind, always listening, always absorbing, believes what it's told. This is why cleaning your space can shift your mood even when nothing else in your life has changed. You haven't solved your problems. You haven't fixed your finances or repaired your relationship, but you have sent yourself a message. I still matter enough to tend to. And that message, repeated enough times, becomes a belief. Capable, cared for, worthy of order, or overwhelmed, behind, not enough. This is also why organizing is, at its core, a practice in boundaries. Every single item you touch forces a decision. This stays. This goes. This no longer belongs in my life. That is not a small mental exercise. That is the exact same muscle you use when you decide which people get access to your time, which obligations you say yes to, which old versions of yourself you're finally ready to release. The shelf is practice for the life. The drawer is practice for the relationship you haven't ended yet. The closet is practice for the boundary you haven't set yet. So when you feel that lightness after finally clearing a space you've been avoiding, don't dismiss it as trivial. That is your nervous system, your history, and your sense of self, all agreeing on something at the same time. That is regulation. That is self-respect, expressed in the only language some of us were ever taught to speak fluently. Not through conversation, through care. Peace was never something waiting to be found in a perfectly organized house. Peace is something you build, decision by decision, object by object, boundary by boundary, until the space around you finally reflects the person you've been trying to become. Your home was never just a home. It was always a mirror. And now you know exactly what it's been trying to tell you. If any of this made you see your own home differently, there's another video waiting that goes even deeper into the part of you that learned to survive by controlling everything around it and what it actually takes to stop.